Jaylen Brown fouls out of this game. So to me, the tipping point with what they're going to do this offseason, or the I don't know how you want to describe this, but do they just peel off role players to get under the apron? Do they peel off Porzingis, Holiday, Hauser, whatever, to trim money, or do they go big and take out Jaylen Brown and do that thing? What do you think, Mazz?
I don't think it's going to be Jaylen Brown. That's my 2 cents, and I wouldn't do it that way if I were them too. So I'm in agreement with them on that. I think the two centerpiece pieces are the most valuable pieces you have, or best way to get back to being contenders again. I would start with those two and go from there. And, but some of it's age, some of it's their ability. Like, they're your two best players. They're also the youngest. You keep those two guys.
I wouldn't break up this Brown-Tatum thing, but there's been so much smoke surrounding the talk of trading Brown just since this series ended that I think it could happen. Even Saturday. So, we do the last Celtic show of the year. We talked to Chris Forsberg, and I threw that hypothetical at him, which I figured would be snuffed out immediately because, NBC Sports Boston, Forsberg, love him, but it's very much a team slant. He didn't. And he's like, hey, anything's on the table. Which I was like, wow, this is you saying this? And then there was the thing, because you weren't here Friday, there was a report late in the day from Kevin O'Connor, Tom Haberstroh, Yahoo Sports. The Celtics have spoken with Cooper Flagg. Now, ostensibly, they talked to all the top rookies.
Well, I've followed up on I've caught up on this. They can meet with 13. You have 13 visits. They chose one with Cooper Flagg and another one with one of the Rutgers kids. I don't know.
Someone in the top 5.
Someone who's supposed to go in the top 3 to 5.
So that makes me think, well, what the hell is this about? I think it could be on the table. I think that's crazy. I'm about the established player. I would not move on from this core of Brown and Tatum. But I think it could happen.
I mean, if you're talking to someone in that part of the draft, then it's in play.
I mean, it's the only way to get it.
Right. So it's in play.
You're dating Brown or Tatum. There's no other way for you to get one of those picks.
I'll be surprised if someone takes the cheese on that just because everybody loves those young players that they think are going to be around for 15 years, even though that they're not in many cases. So, again, I wouldn't do it that way if I were them, especially, they're set up to tank. Because Brown could miss time, too, now with this meniscus repair.
I was just listening to Stevens, and everyone's asking him questions going forward, which frustrates me. I want someone to ask him, what do you think just happened? I want his opinion on why they lost to the Knicks. Straight up. Why'd they lose? I want to know what he thinks.
It's a good question.
It's simple. I get my blood boils when I listen to these press conferences. It's like, just ask a simple, direct question. Why do you think you lost? What happened? God. But he was talking about Brown's knee, and he said, we've known about the meniscus, and he didn't say meniscus, but what he's had for a long time. And, when he said that, he implied it wasn't like just the last month or two.
So maybe it was before this year.
He said, we've known about it for a long time. He's had it for a long time. In fact, it was in better shape now than it's been in a while. We all felt good. He felt good about where it was structurally. He was talking about rest. He didn't mention surgery. So I think listening to his tone, it didn't sound like it was, quote unquote, all that bad. I mean, he obviously had something, but whatever he had it for a while and had been playing through it and was in better shape now than it had been in a while.
I mean, he looked pretty good in Game 5, didn't he?
That's what he said. So, if you think they can, send him in for surgery and shut him down for 6 months, that's not the tone I just got.
Okay, so I'm just saying that if they wanted to go that route, they could. And just take a beating early on and get themselves some sort of high lottery pick and a good draft the following year, or at least make themselves eligible for a lottery pick. They could also do that through trade with some of their other guys. So, just try to get into the top 12 or whatever and then see how you pan out in the lottery. They have plenty of options, but I personally would be surprised if they traded Brown. I would.
Here, Jimmy, can you just pot up Brad? Let's just jump in midstream and see what we got.
Brad, you obviously helped Jason off the court there. It sounds like you were with him afterward with the surgery and everything. What was that kind of time period like, helping him get through such difficult?
I don't care.
Never mind.
I don't care. Never mind.
How sad was Jason after the injury? You were with him. Talk about that.
What are we going to get out of that? What do you care? They were sad. They were pissed. They were like, what do you think?
Have you thought about a philosophical change for how your team plays basketball?
Why do you think you lost?
Yeah.
What do you think happened, Brad? Have they asked him that? What do you think happened?
No, they got to all play like, warm, fuzzy shrink.
Oh, God. What do you think happened, Mazz?
I think they took the Knicks a little bit for granted, and they can only beat teams one way. That's what I think it is. And it's a team that, again, I think their core problem has been there from the beginning.
Do you think they weren't that good?
No, I think they're very talented.
Is it possible the Celtics just aren't that good? I mean, they're good, but not as good as we all thought.
No, they're a very talented team. Yeah, I still feel the same way. The only team I see that has the same level of talent potentially as them, and even then they don't, but they're close, is Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City's talent is really good.
Let me answer.
And they play hard. They're tough. They play both ends of the floor. That's a good team.
I think they're as talented as I ever thought. I think Tatum's a top 3 player in the league. Just pure talent. He might be the guy I take first across the league if I were starting a team. And I think Jaylen Brown is nasty good. I think Derek White is a brilliant, tremendous role player. So is Jrue Holiday, one of the best role players in the league. I think they're every bit as talented as I ever thought. The team, how they are as a team, is less than we gave them credit for. It just doesn't add up. There is something missing there.
Mike, it's the way they play.
And when I say toughness, they're tough in terms of them posting and playing. Tatum plays through all of his injuries, and Brown played through this meniscus, however it was. But in terms of play style, they can get pushed around. Yes, Jimmy.
They're asking right now about what went wrong.
Go ahead.
He said no questions about that.
No, I know, but that's the first 10 questions were on it. You guys are terrible students.
Agreed. Hold on one second. Just pause it. Can you pause it? Okay, go.
Listen, the reality is we blew the first two games, right? And that's why we put ourselves in a tough spot. I realize, and we all realize, listen, these leads go fast, these games go fast, but we had our opportunities, and so yes, you can win when you're down 2-0, but you've just diminished your margin for error, because there's going to be games like ours in Game 5 where we go nuts and we're hard to beat that night, or ours in Game 3 where we're hard to beat that night, but that just ties it. You still have to do that 2 more times. And so, that's not on any one person. That's not out of a maliciousness. That's not like a bad decision. It's not like bad luck. We had opportunities to win those first 2 home games, and then we put ourselves behind the 8 ball, and New York gained what I thought was not only confidence, but momentum, and like they are peaking. You can see it.
Oh, stop it.
And so, I think all 4 teams that are playing in these semifinals deserve to be there, and any of the 4 could win it. But credit New York for the way they played.
Follow up.
And the way they came back in those 2 games specifically.
Why'd you blow those leads? What happened in those games?
A bit of a repeat, I guess, but just curious, looking back and assessing this season, to you, what were the factors that prevented this team from ultimately reaching the end goal that last year's team was able to?
Well, I mean, again, sometimes it's as simple as those are the margins. What I just mentioned, from winning and losing. We lost an overtime game at home in Game 1, and a game by 1 point in Game 2 that, we were up 16, 18, 20 with 15 minutes to go in the game. So that's the margin of error that you're dealing with. And so I think that those are all things that, you appreciate when you can go on deep runs like we did last year and ultimately win it, because some things have to go your way. I've said many times, like we could easily have been up 3-1 when Jason got hurt. But the reality is, we were probably not winning that game anyway, so we were going to be down 3-1. Last year in the Indiana series, they could have easily been up 3-1 on us. And I think that that's just kind of these series. You get these opportunities, and one team takes advantage of them, and that team usually moves on. And the Knicks did that. And again, they deserve credit for that. They've been amazing late in games, and certainly played a lot of those in the Detroit series and showed it against us.
Brad, when the guys were leaving, like this week, over the last couple of days, they've been kind of seem to understand the circumstances like this offseason. Have there been any conversations about what's to come, or do they just kind of understand it?
I think when we do exit meetings here, we do
stop.
Just get together.
So it's on the margins against the Pacers and the Knicks. Well, you've spent a lot of stupid money then. You got two of the highest paid. You got last 2 years, you made Brown and Tatum the highest paid players in the history of the sport.
Yep.
You have a $500 million payroll coming up next year, and you're just the Pacers and the Knicks. And it's like it's just the way the ball bounces. And I know he didn't say bad luck, but he's saying it's on the margins. We could have been down 3-1 to the Pacers last year. We were up 3-1. We could have been down 3. We could have been up 3-1 on the Knicks. So you're just in the same bucket as the Knicks and the Pacers. Well, then you spent your money stupidly. You can't have it both ways.
No, that part of it is right. The part where
are those teams paying $500 million for the roster? So that's what you are. You're just the Pacers and the Knicks.
No, but again, there's a follow-up question to be asked there too. Just ask specifically about the style of play. Why did you blow those leads? Is the style of play part of the issue?
No one's going to do it. No one's going to do it. So no one's going to ask about Mazzulla. What we want, Maz, is dead. It's over.
I just don't understand why that's not a question about how they play.
Do you know what I was
it's
thinking?
The most obvious question in the world.
I was thinking about this today. Do you know why? I don't think these guys have editors anymore. Like back when we covered the teams,
that's part of it.
We had a boss and an editor that would say, that was a horrible loss. What happened? Who do we blame? Why did this go down this way? And we would be forced to go ask the questions.
Correct.
And write a story that detailed what went wrong, who's to blame, and that would be, our editor would make us do it. I don't think it exists anymore. I don't think these guys are bosses or editors.
No, in most cases, you post your own stuff, I bet. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's it. As simple as that.
There isn't anyone really to talk to.
So anyway, you're just the Knicks and the Pacers, and it's on the margins. Well, then I'll tell you what a colossal waste of money you just went through. I don't think those teams have $500 million payrolls. Anyway, we'll keep checking in on Brad Stevens just to get annoyed at the questions. Continue with your calls. Long commercial-free segment comes your way next.
Scalabrine, who was very close and connected to the Celtics, said after the game, and I watched the clip because I thought it was interesting. He said that maybe, and he was down, like he wasn't angry in saying this, but he said maybe the Celtics deserve to lose because they kind of cheated the game in the way they approached the series. Now, that can mean a lot of different things. Here's how I interpreted it. I interpreted it to mean the Celtics had this feeling that we do what we do, and if we do it, nobody beats us, and we're not changing for anybody. You know, the old everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, the Mike Tyson line. They believe that. We're going to do our thing, we're going to shoot our threes, and if we do it, no one can beat us. And then as the series went on, and as the information kept coming back, this might not be a good idea, this might be the only way you can lose, there's a lot of, they never really adjusted what they were doing, and maybe that, I think, is what Scalabrine meant, and if so, would you agree with it?
Yeah, I was watching the series and I tweeted this, that we might be watching the end of extreme analytics in real time, because you're seeing natural dominant basketball players in clutch time be confused on what to do because you've been wired to take threes or settle or be a part of the system, whereas your advantage is actually eaten in isolation, one-on-one, where no one can guard you. You have the finals MVP, someone who's trying to prove that they're also an MVP in the front court, back court, and you're not able to make the necessary requisite reads, whereas just down the street, you see these New York Knicks who are just hooping and vibing off of chemistry. Like, I think there's an oscillation back to the middle, and I think that's the issue with the Celtics. They were following that system and not just playing home.
ESPN this morning. What did Shaniqua say? Their death of
advanced analytics?
No, extreme analytics.
Extreme analytics. Death of extreme analytics.
Hope so.
I don't know.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Me neither. No one's going to put any pressure on him to change. Listen to this press conference. It's just disgusting. Why? No one can just ask a direct question. What are they afraid of? Are the Celtics hard on these guys? The Celtics get on these beat guys? Like, are they ostracized if they ask actual questions? I mean, there's just a general
I would rank them third in the market as far as how the teams treat their media.
There was just a general question asked about coaching in the NBA and guys getting fired. As opposed to, Joe has a year left on his contract. Where does he stand?
Right.
Like, why can't you ask that? Would they come down on him? Be hard on him? You can't ask that question?
No, you should be able to ask that question.
I don't know why the question was general.
And if you're not going to ask it after a loss like this, I don't know why you'd ask it ever.
And so he went on to say how great Joe is and how lucky we are to have him, but didn't address his future. He's got a year left on his contract. He's going into his walk year. What's your plan? And if he doesn't answer, he doesn't answer it. But why can't you ask a direct question? God.
And I'll tell you what, I would still love to hear his assessment of their playing style. Like, again, if you don't want to ask specifically about Mazzulla, which they shouldn't be reluctant to do anyway, where does Steven stand on it? Where does Steven stand on this idea of shooting threes out their ass every night?
It's so bad. It's just so bad. It felt like he might want to. Here's a question on play style in the NBA. And for some reason, the guy didn't want to. He wanted to ask about the NBA, not about the Celtics. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Brad, I'm curious your thoughts about the difference in style of play between the regular season and the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's pretty significant.
Yeah, so is that good, bad? Like, it feels like you've played 82 games under one style.
Oh, you're talking about our style?
I'm talking about just the NBA. I'm talking about your style. I mean, it could be anything, but I'm talking about the officiating is different. Certain things are allowed, not allowed. It feels like the style of play in the regular season, 82 games, was one thing, and the playoffs across the board have been kind of like a different style of basketball. And maybe that impacts your style of play. How do you see that? Do you think that something should be more consistent between the two, whichever way?
Well, no, I don't want this misconstrued by any means. There are absolutely no excuses. Like, both teams are playing under the same set of guidelines with the same whistles and everything else. So that is what it is. But it's clearly more physical.
Okay, so he goes on to talk about how more physical playoff basketball is than regular season basketball. He was on the verge of being, you mean our style? Yeah, your style. Why can't you ask about the Celtics style to the guy in charge of building the team? Here,
one style.
You're talking about our style.
Blow a gasket. I cannot stand the non-question pussy behavior at these press conferences. I can't take it. You've got one crack at him. Why don't you ask him a direct question? Joe Mazzulla's contract, the team style. Here's 90 seconds for an update. We'll come back and just talk to you. Go ahead.
From the Telstra Time Studios, WBZ FM and HD1.
look, I have no idea what the hell Stevens is thinking. If they come back next year and they play the same way and Stevens is on board with it, they should both be shown the door. To me, and I like the job Stevens has done overall, but this is asinine. The way they play is stupid.
And is anyone going to ask about it? You just went through a series where you shot basically 30 more three-pointers than two-pointers. You shot 277 threes, 246 twos, and lost in 6 to the Knicks. Is there any causation there?
Who they went 4-0 against during the regular season and beat by 17 points a game or whatever it was. Should have not been even. It shouldn't have even been a series.
I mean, come on. Johnny and Revere. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, I'd like to